Well, Snazzy, it's been a few months and our channel hasn't been affected by Kappa yet.
Sure looks that way. Feel like taking a chance?
Can't think of a reason not to. Let's dive back into the realm of animation for a spell, but still keep it focused on kaiju. That is what people want, after all.
A quick search on YouTube will reveal numerous videos talking about Godzilla's various cameos and semi-cameos in works not produced by Toho. You'll frequently see things like the times he and his ilk have shown up in The Simpsons, or the time he marched across the Marvel Universe and gave the Avengers a whoopin'.
Yet on all of those videos, at least the ones I've seen, 2 cameos are always omitted, so I'm here to spotlight them for you today. Let's go chronologically, which means we shall start with Daffy Duck's Quackbusters. Well, kind of.
Released theatrically in 1988, Quackbusters is one of the last Looney Tunes compilation films. These were a series of features made for TV and cinema that strung together thematically similar shorts from the Golden Age with a little bit of new material in between. Quackbusters specifically did this for the horror-themed cartoons and played off the popularity of Ghostbusters. It's also somewhat of a historical piece, as it was the last official Looney Tunes project to star Mel Blanc before his passing.
The main film isn't our primary focus, though. Instead, we're looking at the short which precedes it, entitled Night of the Living Duck.
The short opens by establishing that Daffy is a huge nerd whose home is packed to bursting with sci-fi and horror media and memorabilia, from comics to collectibles and even convention badges.
Sound like anyone we know?
Yeah, I won't deny there are similarities. Heck, if the short had been made today, it probably would have opened with Daffy live streaming a Let's Play.
We see Daffy fervently reading an EC horror comic that ends on a cliffhanger, and he frantically searches for the next issue, which dislodges a heavy object that conks him on the head. This causes him to lapse into a nightmare every entertainer has, having to go on stage unrehearsed to entertain an audience.
I still have those dreams to this day. However, Daffy isn't performing for just any audience. You know how people say that the last 2 Avengers movies, Infinity War and Endgame, are the most ambitious cinematic crossovers ever? I say this short has them beat, because it has Daffy Duck on screen with the most iconic monsters in history.
I mean, look at this crowd. There's Dracula, the Mummy, the Gill Man, Frankenstein's monster and his bride, the Wolfman, Medusa, the Blob, the Fly, Leatherface, the Invisible Man, Alfred E. Newman from Mad Magazine, and even some original creepers thrown in for good measure.
This is a veritable smorgasbord of sci-fi and horror cameos, and even if they're mostly just sitting around listening to Daffy sing, seeing them here is still more satisfying than anything from the 2017 version of The Mummy.
Fun fact, this version of The Fly also doubles as a caricature of Mel Blanc.
Remembering that music soothes the savage beast, Daffy chugs some eau de tourmé to cure his lisp and give him a lovely singing voice for the number Monsters Lead Such Interesting Lives.
Mel Torme does the singing here, meaning this is the only time in history that Daffy has been voiced by 2 Mels at once.
This is fascinating and all, but I think people are wondering where Godzilla fits into the picture.
Well, after the song is well received, Daffy goes out among the crowd to socialize a la Frank Sinatra and makes his way towards the biggest star in the room, and I mean that literally.
That star is Godzilla, or rather his lawyer-friendly cameo. Yeah, it's not the cleverest name, but the important thing is that you recognize him as Godzilla, which you clearly can.
He's a bit smaller, and there are some cosmetic differences, but this is still clearly meant to be the king of the monsters, and the fact that Daffy makes a point of interacting with him means this is as close as we've ever gotten to a crossover between the 2 franchises.
Daffy indulges in what he intends to be good-natured ribbing at Smogzilla's expense, poking fun at how the dinosaur used to be in some really bad movies and is currently out of work.
Smog doesn't take it very well and retaliates by eating Daffy, which is just traumatic enough to snap the duck out of his dream.
And in his hand is the sought-after comic with Smogzilla on the cover.
You was expecting maybe Calvin Coolidge.
In the end, Night of the Living Duck isn't an especially funny cartoon. It's more of a musical showcase that leans on the things I know method of getting your attention, but it's not bad by any stretch.
What carries it is the song, which contrasts the soothing music with really disturbing lyrics. The short is more laid back than Looney, but where else are you going to see this many famous monsters in one place at the same time?
The second cameo comes to us from something we haven't covered on this channel in a very long time. That would of course be the fourth generation of My Little Pony. And no, I'm not talking about the Spikezilla episode, though that does serve as an effective homage to both Godzilla and King Kong by the time we reach Act 3.
Instead, we'll be talking about the 2017 theatrical movie, where the cameo goes by so quickly it's possible most people aren't talking about it because they blinked and missed it.
Either that, or they've forgotten what it's supposed to reference.
The cameo comes during I'm the Friend That You Need, sung by Taye Diggs' character Capper, which is also the best song in the whole film, Miss Anthropony.
The cameo comes right after the first chorus. I'll just play it for you.
You need a bud to spot the danger.
Now I know what some of you are thinking. Just because it's a giant reptilian foot doesn't automatically mean it's Godzilla. And normally you'd be right, but this is a reference to something very specific. Maybe some of you already know what it is, but for those of you who don't, well, I'll let Snazzy explain.
The foot is a direct reference to the animated short Bambi Meets Godzilla, a satirical bit of experimental animation done by Marv Newland in 1969.
The short itself is very straightforward. We see Bambi the deer grazing in a meadow, and then Godzilla's foot smashes him flat. The end. It might not seem like much, but Jerry Beck ranked it at number 38 of the 50 greatest cartoons of all time.
These days, it's sort of an animation in-joke. Having a Godzilla foot fall out of the sky, sometimes to crush a character, is the ultimate cartoon Godzilla reference, and has shown up in places like Hercules the Animated Series and The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy.
Now, in the olden days, My Little Pony might not have been the sort of cartoon this reference would be made in. Given how unconventional Friendship is Magic was, though, a reference like this was inevitable. Turns out, they saved it for the movie.
It's a more subtle Godzilla cameo, yes, but a cameo it remains all the same. You know, I'm honestly kind of surprised more bronies didn't point it out.
Well, that's what we do. Point out stuff nobody else noticed.
And that's what we'll continue to do for as long as we can. Until such time as we meet again, this is the OmniViewer signing off. You know, I'm kinda surprised Criterion didn't include Bambi Meets Godzilla as a special feature on their Blu-ray collection. But nobody's perfect.
If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it, as well as subscribe to the channel for more content of a similar nature. Also, check the description for links to our Twitter, DeviantArt, and Patreon pages, as well as the Amazon link for the novel Operation Red Dragon: The Daikaiju Wars Part 1, penned by yours truly. Thank you all, and we appreciate your support.